A lot of you have probably seen various videos on my channel and maybe used one or two as far as maybe just specifically for fast passes or dining, but I wanted to make a video specifically for those of you who are brand new to the whole experience and are wanting to go to Disney World but have no idea where to start. So I've came up with a list to try to get you an idea of where to start when it comes to planning a Disney vacation and talk a little bit about what I do, and hopefully this will help you on your adventure. So stay tuned.
Please stand clear of the doors. Por favor, manténganse alejado de las puertas.
First off, I'm going to do a little disclaimer here. I am a Disney travel agent, so a lot of the things I'm going to be talking about do promote what I do. My services are completely free. I work directly with Disney through Mickey Travels, and so my prices would be identical to the Disney site. And because my services are free, to you it's like a win-win situation where I can be an extra set of eyes, even ears for any time you have a question, and guide you in the right direction when it comes to planning. So if you're interested in that, after you've seen this video and kind of have a plan in place, I can help you be there right by your side as you go through the process as well. My contact information is at the end of the video or in my comment section below, like in the info, and then I also have an email and a Facebook that you can reach me at there. So that was my quick little rant on what I am all about as far as the Disney portion, and if you need some help. All right, so step number one, besides contacting a TA, is what we call them, or Disney travel agent, to help you, would be to figure out a budget. Typically, it's very difficult for someone to just be like, how much is it to go to Disney? Because there's tons of different things you have to think about. First, like transportation to and from. Are you including that in your budget? Are you going to just stick to just the Disney part? Are you going to stay on property? How many people are going? Do you want to include dining? What kind of tickets do you want? There's a lot that goes into it. So first, sit down with your finances and figure out what is feasible for you. The perk with Disney is that it only is $200 to initially book an entire package, and then you can make payments on that all the way up until 30 days before you arrive. So that gives you plenty of time to figure out how much you need to save as far as to go towards your vacation. How far in advance can you book? Well, Disney allows 499 days for room-only reservations, and then it just depends, but usually Disney releases the next year's packages, usually in the early summertime. So for example, last year in 2019 packages were released in June. So if you were wanting to go in November of 2019 and in June, you could have booked that, so you would have had like a year and a half to pay that off. The thing with the 499 days is that you can go ahead and book the room only, but the package cannot be added till later, and Disney has to actually cancel that reservation and rebook and get you a refund. So it is kind of a hassle just to do the room only if you're gonna do a package anyway. So if you're interested in 2019 trips, be looking for that in the early summer. I actually have an ongoing list of those who want to go already. So if you're thinking about 2019, if you're thinking about 2020, wow. I think I'm writing 18 on all my school papers. If you're interested in going in 2020, I actually already have a list going. I have tons of people already interested, and you can send me your email and I'm gonna add you to that list, and we'll be in touch with some planning details before those packages are even released. So what's a typical amount? Well, that's hard to kind of explain just depending on what you get, but I would say on average, $1,000 to $1,500 per person is going to be for a typical like 6-night stay kind of trip. So if you start there and think about how many people are going, and that's like a minimum to mid-moderate as far as what the prices are going to be. Step number 2, you need to figure out when you want to go. So there's lots of things to consider as far as the cheapest time to go, and weather specifically, and crowds. So the cheapest time to go is hard to predict because Disney actually keeps their prices about equal throughout the whole year as far as standard pricing, but they do release tons and tons of promotions. For example, probably one of the biggest money savers are when you stay at a deluxe resort and they offer the 30% off the room. The second biggest would be if you are going when free dining is released. Typically, it was easy for us to predict when that was. It was always in the fall, but Disney decided to throw us a big ol' rock this year and has made free dining in the summer. That no longer is available for 2019, but it was July through September. And we assume that's because Star Wars is opening in the fall and they're gonna have tons of business anyway, so they didn't make the free dining available for those times because tons of people were gonna be there anyway. So that free dining ended September 30th. So let's just assume that Star Wars is gonna open after that. As far as crowds, what I usually like to say is avoid Christmas, avoid summer, and then avoid major holidays. And those are the pretty typical as far as the biggest crowds. Sometimes you can't avoid those. That includes spring break too. You can't avoid those sometimes because of school. For instance, since I teach full-time, I can only go in the summers, and I'm gonna try spring break this next year. So we just kind of suck it up with the crowds and work around it as far as fast passes and plans and make the best of it because it's just what you have to do. For weather, I would say, if you want to avoid the hurricanes, I know it's Central Florida, but there have been torrential downpouring rain during hurricane season, and that is typically in August, September, and October, which is also when they have some of the coolest festivals there, of course. And then Disney, of course, is going to be warm. Disney World is going to be warm year-round because it is in Florida. So January and February is typically good for crowds. It is slightly cooler, and that is also, though, think about this, when they refurbish a lot of the rides. So that might be something to think about too. Step number 3, after you've decided what your budget is, you need to decide, are you gonna stay on or off property? I've done a complete video devoted to the perks of staying on property. I would hope that you would consider that there are more perks than non-perks when it comes to staying on property, just because of things such as you're able to get a dining plan, how close it is to the parks, it's all inclusive, you feel like you're in your own little world. It's very easy to go back and forth if you need to go take a break. And plus you're just in the Disney experience. So tons of reasons why I always encourage on property, but I understand sometimes you just can't. So off property is also an option. I typically do not book off properties though, because I just work with what Disney has to offer. So things like if you have larger families, it might make more sense to stay off property. Step 4, decide which parks you're going to visit. So if you're brand new to this whole experience as far as Disney, and I get this a lot, people get very confused on what's a Disney park and what's not. So Disney has 4 parks. Magic Kingdom, which is probably the most popular, and I would spend at least 2 days there if you've never been. Hollywood Studios, Epcot, and then Animal Kingdom. Universal Studios and SeaWorld are not Disney properties. Those are actually separate. And most people think that you can just get transportation while you're staying at Disney to Universal. They don't offer that. They are not affiliated with that company in any way. You'd have to find your own way to get there. So with the 4 parks that you also have 2 water parks. So you have Blizzard Beach and Typhoon Lagoon. And then there is Disney Springs, the shopping area that doesn't require a ticket. So those are things to consider. Are you gonna say 5 days in parks, no water parks? Are you gonna do 4 days in a park and a water park? Those are things you'll all want to consider. There are various ticket options as far as deciding if you're gonna do 1 park per day, if you're gonna do multiple parks per day, and then of course the water park option. So based on age range, I would definitely, like I said earlier, Magic Kingdom for younger kids, or if you've never been, at least 2 days, just because it has the most attractions. If you are a Star Wars or Toy Story fan, definitely make sure you hit up Hollywood Studios. Not a ton here for little kids, but they do have Frozen, the sing-along show, and then they do Disney Junior things. Epcot is classic for the young and old alike, and of course the adults are aware that Epcot is where there are food and beverages all around the world. And then it is more of an educational park, but does have some fantastic rides, including Soarin', Test Track, and there's the new Frozen Ever After ride. And then Animal Kingdom, of course, is not a zoo. It is not what people just assume, but there are animals there, and there's a safari attraction, and of course the brand new Avatar area is really big. So there's tons for everyone. It's just trying to decide, are you gonna do 1 per day? Are you gonna maybe split? Because strategy-wise, I know for being there multiple times, we usually split Animal Kingdom and Epcot just because we go do the few things we like to do, then leave. But now with Star Wars coming into Hollywood Studios, that's gonna be our home resort, maybe for a little bit. Spend half days, full days there. And of course, Magic Kingdom, you just could live there. Step number 5, you need to decide if you're going to do the dining plan if you're staying on property. Very typical question I get, is the dining plan worth it? So what I usually say is that the dining plan is gonna break you even as far as meals you would have had if you paid out of pocket. So if you anticipate doing table service credits with characters, if you plan on eating in the parks most of the time, then yes, I would consider a dining plan. Just because it's part of the package, so that means you get to make payments on it. And that way, while you're at Disney, it's already been paid for and you don't have to worry about paying for that while you're in the parks. The only thing you would have to pay for is gratuity, which is based on the price at the end of the meal and how many people you have. If you have over 6, it's gonna be automatically 18%. I'm a big fan of the dining plan. We've used it every time. We've tried the deluxe, where you get the 3 sit-downs and 2 snacks per person, plus it's an appetizer, entree, and dessert at each meal. It was a lot of food, but it let us try some things we've never got to try before and have more fancier experiences. And we've also done the regular dining plan with the table service, 1 quick, and 2 snacks. That one makes more sense if you don't think you're going to be doing very signature-like restaurants. So even though if you're a 3 meal a day person, like breakfast, lunch, and dinner, the table service, quick service, and snack are still gonna be enough food. The deluxe dining plan will be way too much. Plus you're gonna be spending like an hour and a half at table service restaurants, and maybe that's gonna dip into your park time. So you may not want to do that. If you have any more questions about the dining plan, because it can be a little confusing, there are various videos on this channel devoted to it. Plus, as we work through the booking process, if you work through me, I can kind of walk you through it verbally or via email to kind of give you a better idea. I've got handouts and flyers that go with all this. Okay, so after you've done all those steps, decide where you're gonna go, make a budget, where you're gonna stay, how many days in parks, and if you're gonna use dining, then it's time to book. So the process goes the same way it does with the TAs as it does through booking on your own. You can put a hold down on a package for 3 days, and what that does is just reserves your room. At the end of those 3 days, you have to pay a $200 deposit, and then again, the full payment is due 30 days before you arrive. There's some other things you can add on, including the Memory Maker, which is the huge photo package that is definitely worth it. It's $169, and it gives you the unlimited photos you've taken throughout the whole trip. You can also add travel insurance if you are concerned that you may or may not are worried about like losing your bags or your flights or maybe an illness. That is $77.50 per adult and about $5 per child, and that has fluctuated and whatnot throughout the years, so if you're watching this a few years from now, that may be a different price. And then that's all it really takes to book. You just have to have everyone's name in place, and that's it. And then you will work through the My Disney experience on the Disney website throughout the whole planning process with either a TA or if you're on your own. Cancellation policies apply. If you cancel before your final payment, you will get a full refund. If you cancel after that, you can lose the deposit. And then if you cancel or do not show up, you'll lose all of your money if it's a day before. But you can still get a majority of the refund, even super close to the time that you cancel. Disney's really flexible also about changing dates if you have to. So it's very easy to work with Disney as far as the Walt Disney property. Now Disney Cruise Line is a little different. They have some stricter policies as far as that. So you would have to discuss that with your travel agent if you are thinking about a Disney cruise instead of the parks. All right, so I hope this kind of gives you an idea of what you need to think of when you're gonna go to Disney World and you've made the decision to do it. I am open to any questions that you have, and I look forward to hopefully working with some of you. If we'd like to visit or email, feel free to send me that, and I will chat with you. And I hope you have a magical day, and good luck on your planning if this is the route you're gonna go and you're gonna go on your own. There's tons of videos here to help you, but again, would love to be there with you. Have a magical day. Bye.